Captain Jake Morrison stood at the large window of his spaceship, watching Earth get smaller and smaller in the distance. The blue planet looked peaceful from here, but Jake knew things were not as calm as they seemed. For 3 years now, humans had been part of the Galactic Council, a group of 18 different alien species from across the galaxy. When the aliens first came to Earth, everyone was excited. They said they wanted to be friends. They shared their technology and helped humans build better spaceships. They even invited human leaders to visit their homeworlds. It seemed like the start of something wonderful. Jake remembered the day the first alien ship landed in New York. Millions of people watched on television as tall, blue-skinned beings walked out of their ship. They called themselves the Villani, and they spoke perfect English. Their leader, Ambassador Keth, smiled and said they came in peace. "We have been watching your species for many years," Keth had said. "You are ready to join the galactic community. We will teach you about the stars and help you grow." The whole world celebrated. Scientists worked with alien engineers to build new machines. Doctors learned about alien medicine that could cure diseases humans had fought for centuries. Children in schools learned about other worlds and their strange plants and animals, but something was wrong. Jake felt it in his bones, even though he could not explain why. Other humans felt it too, but most people ignored these feelings. They were too excited about the new technology and the promise of exploring the galaxy. Lieutenant Amy Foster walked up to Jake with a worried look on her face. She held a small computer in her hands, and her fingers were shaking slightly. "Captain, we caught some alien messages that were not meant for us to hear," she said quietly. "You need to see this right away." Jake took the computer and looked at the screen. What he saw made his blood run cold. The messages were in the alien language, but the computer had translated them into English. The words he read made him sick to his stomach. The messages talked about something called Project Harvest. They were not about friendship or peace. They were about humans like they were animals on a farm. The aliens had been studying human bodies, human thoughts, and human technology, but not to help humanity. They wanted to use humans for their own purposes, one message said. The human specimens show good breeding potential. Their emotional responses are stronger than expected. This will make them excellent workers for the mining colonies. Another message was even worse. Population centers have been mapped. Genetic diversity cataloged. The harvest can begin when ready. Estimate 2.3 billion suitable for relocation. The rest can be disposed of. Jake's hands shook as he read more. The aliens saw humans as nothing more than smart animals. They planned to take the best humans to work on distant planets as slaves. The others would be killed. Dr. Carl Bennett, the ship's alien expert, came over to look at the messages. His face went white as he read them. "They have been planning this from the beginning," Carl said in a whisper. "Every human they took to visit their worlds, every piece of technology they shared, every friendship they made, it was all lies. They were studying us like scientists study rats in a lab." The worst part was learning about Admiral Lisa Parker. She was Earth's main representative to the Galactic Council. For 3 years, she had been sending Earth's military secrets to the aliens. But she did not know she was helping them prepare to attack humanity. She really believed she was helping Earth join a peaceful galactic community. Jake thought about all the humans who had volunteered to go live on alien worlds. The Council had told them these were paradise planets where humans could live in comfort and peace. Now Jake knew the truth. Those volunteers were already slaves, probably working in mines or factories on distant worlds. The betrayal was complete. The aliens had fooled the entire human race. They had made humans trust them, even love them. And all the time, they were planning to destroy human civilization. As the truth spread through the remaining free parts of Earth, people began to panic. The aliens controlled most of Earth's big cities through what they called cultural exchange centers. These buildings were supposed to be places where humans and aliens could meet and learn from each other. Now everyone realized they were actually spy centers where the aliens watched everything humans did. Jake looked out at the stars and felt anger burning in his chest. Humanity had welcomed these creatures with open arms. They had shared their art, their music, their hopes and dreams. They had treated the aliens like honored guests, and the aliens had been planning to murder most of the human race. "How long do we have?" Jake asked Amy. She looked at her computer again. "According to these messages, they are almost ready to begin the final phase. Maybe days, maybe weeks." Jake nodded and turned to face his crew. These were good people, humans who had volunteered to explore the galaxy and represent Earth among the stars. Now they might be some of the last free humans left alive. "Send a message to Earth," Jake said. "Tell them everything. Tell them the truth about the Galactic Council. Tell them that humanity is about to face the fight of its life. The beautiful dream of joining a galactic community was over. Now the nightmare was about to begin." 3 days after Jake Morrison sent the warning message to Earth, the attack began. The aliens had grown tired of waiting. They had all the information they needed about humanity, and now they wanted to finish their plan. Commander Rick Stone was eating breakfast in his apartment in Chicago when the sky turned red. He looked out his window and saw something that made his heart stop. Huge alien ships, bigger than any building, were floating above the city. They were not the friendly ships that had visited Earth before. These were warships, black and covered with weapons. Rick grabbed his phone and called his commanding officer. "Sir, we have a problem. Big alien ships are over the city and they don't look friendly." Before his commander could answer, the first attack began. Bright beams of energy shot down from the ships. Where they hit, buildings disappeared in flashes of light. The aliens were not trying to capture the city. They were trying to destroy it. Rick ran to his closet and put on his military uniform. He was a soldier, and soldiers did not run away when their people were in danger. He grabbed his weapon and radio, then ran outside to help anyone he could find. The streets were full of chaos. People were screaming and running in all directions. Cars crashed into each other as drivers tried to escape. Some people just stood there, staring at the sky in shock. They could not believe what was happening. "All soldiers, this is Commander Stone," Rick said into his radio. "Get to the emergency meeting points. We need to get civilians to safety now." But Rick knew they were in serious trouble. The alien weapons were destroying everything they touched. Human weapons could not even scratch the alien ships. This was not a battle between equals. This was a massacre. Colonel Nancy Webb had been preparing for this day for months. While other people trusted the aliens, Nancy had been suspicious. She had used her position in the military to secretly build hiding places under the city. Her friends had called her crazy. Now her craziness was saving lives? "Follow me," Nancy shouted to a group of scared families. "I know a safe place." She led them to what looked like a normal subway entrance. But when they went down the stairs, they found something amazing. Nancy had built a whole underground city. There were rooms for sleeping, places to store food, and even a small medical center. "How did you know this would happen?" asked a young mother holding her baby. Nancy looked sad. "I hoped I was wrong. But the aliens were too nice, too helpful. In my experience, when someone offers you everything for free, they usually want something much more valuable in return." The attack was happening all over the world. In New York, London, Tokyo, and every other major city, alien ships were destroying everything. The aliens had planned this perfectly. They attacked all at once, so humans could not warn each other or help each other. In space, the human space fleet tried to fight back. Captain Ben Davis commanded the USS Valor, one of Earth's best warships. He and his crew were brave, but they quickly realized they could not win. "Captain, our weapons are not hurting them at all," his weapons officer reported. "Their shields are too strong." Ben looked at the alien ships surrounding his vessel. They were beautiful in a terrible way, like deadly sculptures made of metal and energy. He knew his ship was about to be destroyed, but he would not give up without a fight. "Set course for the biggest enemy ship," Ben ordered. Full speed. His crew understood what he meant. They were going to crash their ship into the alien vessel. It might not destroy the alien ship, but it would damage it and maybe give other human ships a chance to escape, the UES. Valor flew straight at the alien dreadnought. The alien ship tried to move away, but Ben's ship was too fast. The two vessels collided in a bright explosion that lit up the darkness of space. On Earth, something unexpected was happening. The aliens had studied human military forces, but they had not studied ordinary people. They did not understand that humans could turn anything into a weapon when they were desperate. Sarah Miller had been an engineer before the attack. Now she was teaching people in the underground shelters how to build weapons from broken electronics. Take the parts from a microwave oven, she explained to a group of survivors. Add some wire and a battery. Now you have a device that can shut down alien computers. The aliens were discovering that humans were much more dangerous than they had expected. Every time alien soldiers went into a building, humans attacked them from hidden places. Every time the aliens tried to set up a base, humans found ways to destroy their equipment. Young people were especially good at this new kind of fighting. They knew the city streets better than anyone, and they were not afraid to take risks. Groups of teenagers would sneak up to alien vehicles and plant bombs made from household chemicals. The aliens had expected to find broken, scared humans begging for mercy. Instead, they found fighters who refused to give up. Every day the human resistance grew stronger and more organized, but the cost was terrible. Millions of humans had died in the first attacks. Whole cities were gone. The world that humans had known for thousands of years was ending. In his hidden command center, Rick Stone looked at reports from around the world. The news was bad, but not hopeless. They control the sky, he told his officers. But we still have the underground, and we still have each other. The war for humanity's survival had begun. 6 months had passed since the aliens began their attack on Earth. The world looked very different now. Most of the big cities were gone, turned into piles of broken stone and twisted metal. But humanity was still alive, and they were learning to fight back in ways the aliens never expected. Major Tim Clark sat in a cave deep inside the Rocky Mountains. The cave had been turned into a command center for the human resistance. Maps covered the walls, showing alien positions and human hideouts all across North America. Radio equipment filled one corner, connecting Tim to resistance groups around the world. They think they won because they destroyed our cities, Tim said to his team. But cities were just where we used to live. Now we live everywhere. Every forest, every mountain, every tunnel under the ground. This whole planet is our home, and we know it better than they ever will. The aliens were getting frustrated. They had expected the war to be over in a few weeks. Instead, humans kept fighting back from places the aliens could not find. Worse, the humans were getting smarter about how to fight. Helen Price had been a computer programmer before the war. Now she was one of humanity's most dangerous weapons. She had learned how to break into alien computer systems and make them do things they were not supposed to do. Look at this, Helen said, showing Tim her laptop computer. I just made an alien supply ship think it was supposed to land at one of our bases instead of theirs. When it gets there, we will have enough alien food and weapons to keep 3 resistance groups going for months. The aliens use computers for everything. They trusted their machines more than their own eyes. This was a big mistake when fighting humans, because humans were very good at lying to machines. Dr. Paul Rogers had made the most important discovery of the war. He had been studying pieces of broken alien weapons and armor that resistance fighters had brought to him. What he found changed everything. Their energy shields are amazing, Paul explained to a group of resistance leaders. They can stop any kind of energy weapon we have. But they were designed to fight other aliens who use energy weapons. They never expected to fight people who still use bullets and arrows. Paul held up a simple steel arrow. This can go right through their shields. Their computers do not even recognize it as a weapon because it is so primitive. The news spread through the resistance like wildfire. Suddenly, old hunting rifles and crossbows became more valuable than the most advanced human weapons. Humans started making spears and swords again, weapons that their great-great-grandparents would have recognized. Lisa Chun was only 18 years old, but she had already become a legend among the resistance fighters. She led a group of young people who specialized in stealing from alien supply bases. They moved at night, silent as shadows, and disappeared before the aliens knew they were there. "The trick is to think like a ghost," Lisa told her team as they prepared for another raid. "We are not trying to destroy their base. We are not trying to kill all their soldiers. We just want to take their stuff and leave them confused." Lisa's team had developed their own way of fighting. They would sneak into an alien base and rearrange things. They would steal important equipment and replace it with broken human technology. They would change the alien computer system so that orders got mixed up. One time, Lisa's team made an alien patrol think they were supposed to guard a human shopping mall that had been empty for months. The aliens spent 3 days protecting the empty building while resistance fighters attacked their real base on the other side of town. The aliens were learning that humans were very good at making them look stupid. Every time the aliens thought they understood how humans fought, the humans would change their tactics and do something completely different. Communication was one of humanity's greatest strengths. The aliens had destroyed most of the telephone and internet systems, but they could not stop humans from talking to each other. Resistance groups developed new ways to send messages that the aliens could not detect. Children became messengers, carrying coded notes between resistance cells. Graffiti on walls contained secret information about alien movements. Even trained dogs and cats were used to carry messages through areas that were too dangerous for humans. The aliens started to realize they had made a terrible mistake. They had thought humans were simple creatures who would surrender quickly when faced with superior technology. Instead, they had found a species that became more dangerous the more desperate they became. Commander Vec of the Alien Occupation Force sent a report to the Galactic Council. "The human infestation is more difficult to remove than predicted. They adapt quickly to our tactics and seem to thrive in conditions that would destroy most species. Request additional forces and new strategies." But the Council was having problems of their own. The war with humanity was taking much longer than planned, and they were running out of soldiers and ships. They had other worlds to control, other species to keep in line. The longer the war lasted, the more it cost them. Nancy Webb, now leading the resistance in the American Midwest, received a radio message that made her smile for the first time in months. "Nancy, this is Jake Morrison calling from the outer system. We have some friends who want to help us fight." The message was from the human spaceship that had first discovered the alien betrayal, but Jake was not alone anymore. He had found something in the depths of space that would change the war completely. The resistance was about to become something much more powerful than the aliens had ever imagined. 2 years had passed since the alien attack began. The war was not going the way the Galactic Council had planned. What should have been a quick and easy victory had turned into a long and costly nightmare. Admiral Kate Morgan floated in the command center of her hidden asteroid base, far from Earth. She had been a simple ship captain when the war started. Now she commanded what was left of the human space fleet, along with some very unusual allies. "Admiral, we are getting reports from all over the galaxy," said her communications officer. "The aliens are pulling their forces back from the outer worlds. They are scared." Kate looked at the star map on her screen. Red dots showed where alien forces were retreating. For the first time since the war began, the mighty Galactic Council was running away from a fight. The reason was simple: humanity's desperate radio messages had reached other species across the galaxy. Species that the Council had conquered, enslaved, or tried to destroy. These alien races had thought they were alone in their hatred of the Council. Now they knew they were not. On the far edge of the galaxy, the Zephyrians had been hiding for 300 years. The Council had tried to wipe them out completely, but some had escaped to dead worlds where no one would look for them. They had spent centuries planning their revenge. Captain Zethka of the Zephyrian fleet received the human message about the Council's betrayal. The message was simple: "We are fighting the Council too. We could use friends." The Zephyrians had built their new ships from the wreckage of Council vessels. Their technology was not as advanced as the Council's, but it was good enough. More importantly, they knew how to fight dirty, just like the humans. Send a message to these humans, Zethka ordered. Tell them the dead have come back to life and we want to help them kill our enemies. On mining worlds throughout the galaxy, the Thornax had been slaves for hundreds of years. They were strong and tough, perfect for digging minerals out of dangerous asteroid fields. The Council thought they were too stupid to rebel. The Council was wrong. The Thornax had been waiting for the right moment to strike. When they heard about the human resistance, they knew their time had come. Foreman Grok had been planning the uprising for decades. He had secretly taught other Thornax how to turn their mining tools into weapons. When the signal came, they were ready, brothers, Grok announced to the miners around him. The small soft humans are fighting the Council. If they can fight, so can we. Today we break our chains. The uprising began on 50 mining worlds at the same time. The Thornax had been building weapons in secret for years. Council guards found themselves facing creatures twice their size. Armed with plasma cutters and explosive mining charges, General Frank Adams led the first human counterattack against a Council base. His forces were a mix of human soldiers and alien allies. They moved fast and hit hard, just like the resistance fighters on Earth. Remember, Frank told his troops before the battle, we are not just fighting for Earth anymore. We are fighting for everyone the Council has hurt. Make them pay. The attack was a complete success. The Council base was destroyed and hundreds of alien prisoners were freed, but the real victory was the message it sent. The Council was no longer unbeatable. Back on Earth, the resistance was growing stronger every day. Dr. Emma Wright had been studying captured alien technology in her hidden laboratory. What she discovered shocked everyone. The Council has been lying about everything, Emma announced to the resistance leaders. All their advanced technology, all their powerful weapons, they stole it from other species. They are not creative or intelligent. They are just thieves. Emma showed them alien computer files she had decoded. The files contained the history of dozens of alien species that no longer existed. The Council had visited each world, pretended to be friends, and then stolen everything valuable before destroying the planet. They did the same thing to us, Emma continued. But we survived. We are the first species to fight back successfully. And now everyone knows it is possible. The news spread through the resistance and out to the galaxy. The Council was not made up of superior beings. They were just bullies who had been stealing from others for thousands of years. Fear began to spread through Council space. Species that had been loyal for centuries started asking questions. The hegemony of Krell discovered that the Council had been secretly harvesting their people for medical experiments. The Spiral Collective found out that their tribute payments were going to fund attacks on innocent worlds. Captain Jake Morrison, now commanding a mixed fleet of human and alien ships, appeared without warning in the Altair system. His target was a Council research station where they were experimenting on captured humans. This is Captain Morrison of the Free Alliance, he broadcast to the station. Release all prisoners immediately, or we will take them by force. The Council commander tried to negotiate, but Jake was not interested in talking. Human and alien ships attacked together, their different technologies working perfectly as a team. The rescue mission was a success. Hundreds of humans were freed from the research station, along with prisoners from a dozen other species. But the real victory was the name Jake had used, the Free Alliance. Word spread quickly through the galaxy. The human resistance had become something much bigger. It was now a coalition of every species that opposed the Council. For the first time in thousands of years, the Council faced an enemy that was growing stronger instead of weaker. The hunters had become the hunted. The Council's reign of terror was coming to an end. 3 years had passed since the Galactic Council betrayed humanity. The mighty empire that had controlled half the galaxy for thousands of years was falling apart. What had started as a simple plan to harvest one small planet had become a war that was destroying everything the Council had built. President Susan Taylor stood in the Great Hall of the space station that served as the headquarters of the Free Alliance. Around her were representatives from 43 different species. All united by their hatred of the Council and their desire for freedom, Susan had been a teacher before the war. Now she was the elected leader of all free humans, chosen by the survivors who had fought so hard to stay alive. She was not a soldier or a politician, but she understood something important. Sometimes ordinary people had to do extraordinary things. "Friends," Susan said to the assembled delegates, 3 years ago, the Council thought we were sheep waiting to be slaughtered. They thought we were weak and stupid. They forgot that sometimes the sheep have teeth." The delegates laughed and cheered. Many of them had their own stories of Council betrayal. The Zephyrians had been hunted to near extinction. The Thornax had been enslaved for centuries. The Krell had been used as test subjects for medical experiments. Admiral Kate Morgan stood at the command center of the UES Defiance, the flagship of the Free Alliance fleet. The ship had been rebuilt 3 times during the war, each time stronger and more advanced than before. Now it was leading the largest fleet of free species ever assembled. "All ships, this is Admiral Morgan, Kate," announced over the radio. "Today we end this war. Today we show the galaxy that bullies can be beaten." Their target was Council Prime, the ancient capital world of the Galactic Council. For 10,000 years, the Council had ruled from this planet, sending their fleets to conquer and destroy. Now those same fleets were running home to defend their masters. The final battle was not just fought in space. All across the galaxy, oppressed species were rising up against their Council overlords. On every world the Council controlled, revolution was breaking out. The Spiral Collective had been loyal to the Council for 800 years. They had provided soldiers and resources without question. But when they learned the truth about the Council's crimes, they turned their weapons against their former masters. The hegemony of Krell had been the Council's closest allies. Their advanced technology had helped the Council conquer dozens of worlds. But when they discovered that the Council had been secretly harvesting their people, they joined the rebellion with fury in their hearts. Captain Jake Morrison led the assault on the Council's leadership bunker deep beneath the capital city. His team was made up of humans and aliens working together, just like the Free Alliance itself. "Remember," Jake told his soldiers, "we are not here for revenge. We are here to make sure this never happens again." The bunker was heavily defended, but the Council's guards were not prepared for the tactics they faced. Human soldiers used primitive weapons that passed through energy shields. Zephyrian warriors moved like ghosts through the corridors. Thornax miners used their natural strength to tear through metal walls. The Council members had retreated to their deepest chambers, thinking they were safe. These beings had lived for centuries, ruling over countless worlds and billions of lives. They had never imagined that their victims might one day find them. When Jake's team finally reached the Council chambers, they found the alien leaders huddled together like frightened children. These creatures, who had styled themselves as gods among the stars, were begging for mercy from the humans they had tried to exterminate. "Please," said Council Leader Vorth, his voice shaking with fear, "we can negotiate. We can give you technology, resources, anything you want." Jake looked down at the alien who had ordered the death of billions of humans. "You want to know what made humans special?" Jake asked. "It was not our weapons or our technology. It was our refusal to give up, even when everything seemed hopeless. The battle in space was equally one-sided. The Council's mighty fleet found itself outnumbered and outfought by ships from dozens of different species. Each species brought their own weapons and tactics, creating a combined force that no single enemy could defeat. But the real victory was not won with weapons. It was won in the hearts and minds of ordinary people across the galaxy. For the first time in thousands of years, entire populations were refusing to obey the Council's orders. On the mining world of Kepler 7, Thornax workers declared their independence and drove out the Council administrators. On the research station orbiting Rigel, Krell scientists destroyed their weapons research and released all the test subjects. On 100 worlds, people who had lived in fear for generations stood up and said, "No more." The Council's empire did not fall because of superior technology or military might. It fell because the people it had oppressed finally realized they were not alone. They had friends, allies, and hope. President Susan Taylor received the news of victory while standing in the garden section of the Alliance Station. Around her, plants from dozens of different worlds grew together in harmony, just like the species that had joined the Free Alliance. "It's over," said Admiral Kate Morgan, walking up to Susan with a smile on her face. "The Council has surrendered. Their fleet is scattered, their leadership is captured, and their empire is finished." Susan nodded, but she knew the real work was just beginning. It was one thing to destroy a tyrant. It was another thing to build something better in its place. The age of the Council was over. The age of freedom had begun. And at the center of it all stood a species that had refused to accept defeat. Even when facing impossible odds, humanity had not just survived the Council's betrayal. They had inspired an entire galaxy to fight for freedom. The sheep had indeed turned out to have very sharp teeth,